roughly 70% of the workforce doesn't have more than $1,000 in their savings account.
Welcome to We're Only Human, a podcast focused on blending research and practical advice to help today's HR, talent, and learning leaders improve business outcomes. Let's welcome your host, Ben Eubanks.
Hi everyone, this is Ben Eubanks. I'm really excited for you to be here. This has been a great week and I'm hearing some amazing feedback on the podcast. I just want to take a quick second and say a thank you to Mike, to Jill, to Shante, to Akima, all of you that are sending notes, that are sharing the podcast, that are giving us ratings in the last few weeks. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. I've said it before, but my life's mission is to make HR better, one HR pro at a time. And it's been like that for over 10 years now, and it's going to continue to be like that for as long as I can breathe. Every one of you that listen to this show are learning and you're growing, probably being a little entertained too. But you also have the opportunity to share this with someone else you think might appreciate the insights as well. Right? If you're friends with a recruiter, share the recent episode with Intel with them, episode 72, and they can learn more about how they're redesigning their candidate experience and thinking about that in a new way. So an HR executive, share the episode with them on how to be an HR troublemaker from episode 18. They'd really enjoy hearing from Jill and her thoughts there and how to be more of a troublemaker and not just a go with the flow kind of person. If you are an HR pro and you work with vendors or people are pinging you and you're being sold to and you're being contacted all the time by vendors in the industry, send them the link to episode 21 on vendor demo extreme makeovers, really giving them some insights on how to do that better and how to approach you in a more respectful way. There's something here for everybody. And to those of you that listen, subscribe, share the show, I appreciate you. I'm actually sending out some small thank yous to listeners in the coming weeks. So if you like the show, just shoot me a note to ben@upstarthr.com. That's ben@upstarthr.com with your work address, and I would be glad to send you something as a sign of my personal appreciation for you supporting the podcast. Today I'm going to talk with Rob Whalen about how employers now have the ability to use PTO, paid time off, as a resource for investing in employee retirement, helping them with emergency expenses, and more. It's a really incredible concept, and I think you'll be intrigued by the possibilities. Now, on with the show. Hey everybody, this is Ben Eubanks, host of We're Only Human. So glad to have you here. In my job as an analyst, I have heard almost everything that you can imagine in terms of HR technology. And because of that, I'm always a little bit wary of companies that claim to be the best, the first, the only. I'm a natural optimist. I really believe in the power of tech to improve our work, but I'm also a little bit skeptical because of the nature of my work. I see a lot of companies that aren't quite living up to what they're talking about, and so I'm like calling myself a skeptical optimist a little bit. But that said, I read across a really interesting company recently, and I wanted to explore what they're doing because it sounded pretty incredible, honestly. I'm a little bit of an HR nerd, so a lot of an HR nerd, so I wanted to see more about this, and I'm really just not going to be able to do it justice. So I'm going to bring our guest on in just a second, and we can dive into the topic and really explain how something like employee paid leave can be a strategic asset for engaging employees, creating financial wellness, other kinds of outcomes that we are concerned about as HR and business leaders. So to chat on this, I actually have Rob Whalen here with me. He's the CEO of PTO Exchange. Welcome, Rob.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And I already warned everyone we're going to nerd out on today's topic. But before we do, can you take a minute and tell us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm the co-founder of PTO Exchange, a company that was founded in my house at a dinner party from a bunch of entrepreneurs, and came across a great idea and started to develop it, and have built it into a startup company. So that's what we're doing.
Awesome. What do you do when you're not working, Rob?
When I'm not working, love to ski. I do like to run, and I love to play guitar. So if I can ever get down to my basement to play my guitar, I get a chance to do that.
Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Well, let's jump into the conversation. I'm really curious about this, and again, you and I have had a little bit of discussion before, so I've got a little prep on this, but I'm really excited to learn some more about it today, just because I know our last conversation was pretty fast-paced. So let's set the stage a little bit. You, because of the work you do and the area you're working in, you are an expert on paid time off, employee leave, those kinds of things. So because of what you do, Rob, you're actually it's your claim to fame, right? You're the expert on kind of paid time off, employee leave, those kinds of things, and where it stands. So Help us to level set on the topic of paid time off. You have some stats on this that you shared with me before. Can you kind of help us dig into that, help us understand what it looks like today in terms of landscape?
Yeah, you bet. So, as I didn't, go to be the expert of this. My background was in accounting, but after starting the company, we started to find it to be a very interesting space. And just to give you a few numbers, so there's about $395 billion that gets accrued in paid time off every year. What we find interesting is about $65.5 billion gets forfeited. So employees are forfeiting it back to the companies and to the shareholders, which equates to roughly about $500 per employee out there in the marketplace. And so, some of those things really surprised us, and we saw that as a very big problem, and especially with the divergence of productivity and the wage growth. And, we're helping to solve some of those problems for employers and employees. So,
interesting. So, the thing that gets me is every time I hear this topic of employee leave, the things that get flashy news coverage are things like unlimited PTO programs and things like that. But in reality, a lot of employers have something out there they're already offering, or it's maybe a new state mandated leave plan, things like that, where they're trying to encourage or force employers to offer this leave to their employees for more flexibility. But like you were just saying there, a big chunk of that is not even being used at all. Is it because employees can't take time off, don't want to take time off? And what sort of things are you hearing from your customers when you're talking to them? What sort of things are driving those behaviors? Because it seems counterintuitive that I'm holding money out to you as an employee and you're not using that.
I think it's a lot of different reasons, Ben. I think that if you just look at the people in their work, sometimes you as an employee don't feel like you can take that time off, right? Maybe it's a culture within the company. But the other thing that we see is there's a lot of people that can't afford a vacation, right? And so what they're doing is instead of taking that time off, they just rather work so that they don't lose their job because they're living paycheck to paycheck. And we're seeing a lot of that, right? Roughly 70% of the workforce doesn't have more than $1,000 in their savings account, right? So the concern of, hey, I'm going to take that week off and just stay at home, that's not that exciting. And we're seeing that in the marketplace. But roughly we're just seeing people work, right? People are working more, and that's why the productivity in this country has been accelerating over the years. And they're leaving that on the table.
Okay. So now we've got a good understanding of kind of where it is, what it looks like. And again, I don't think that last piece that we talked about was a surprise for anyone that works in this space. You see those kind of things every day. We're in the people business, so we're connected to those employees and we understand the realities. But I wanted to make sure we covered kind of our bases before we dive into some of the ways that can be flexed to solve some of those problems. So talk about why and how PTO can be used to support employee needs in other kinds of ways, like the core work that you guys are doing at PTO Exchange. I thought this was super innovative, and so help us understand that a little better.
Yeah, so we do a number of things on the platform. So we are a complete platform. We allow people to give to nonprofits. So we integrate directly to the IRS's database of 501c3s, and we actually, so that you can take time and maybe an hour of it and give to a nonprofit of your choosing. Okay. We also have a full giving and volunteering platform within the system. So that's just one of the things. The other thing we can do, which resonates with a lot of our customers and a lot of companies out there, is the ability to share your PTO with another coworker. And I'll give you an example, Ben. Maybe you get sick and you use all your PTO up, okay? And you still need some more time off. Well, and maybe you and I are friends and I have time, So the ability for me to share my time with you, right? Now, we have different pay rates, so our system manages that. But that whole community culture that a company can develop around their employees. And that resonates with a lot of companies. We can also take some of your time, put it into your retirement, your 401k, or your healthcare savings account if you have one. And then the last three are reimbursement models for us, but you can take some of your time and pay down your student loan, okay? Or maybe it's tuition reimbursement that you need. We also have a relationship with Priceline. So one of our widely used plans is travel. So the ability to help your employees afford an experience that they may not have been able to afford. And then the last one that we just launched it about 3.5 months ago, and it was developed with a really large company. They came to us and said, hey, we have this problem with our employee base. And just to give you an example, this is a 100,000 employees and above company. And they said, we have about 14% of our employees, tenured years 1 through 4, that are accessing their 401k for small loans. So $500 to $1,000 loans out of their 401k. And we really want to stop that behavior. What we think would be a great idea is to increase their PTO accrual and allow them to access 5 days in case of an emergency, right? And instead of, they looked at a payday loan or those types of, and what they're trying to get away from is that type of that debt behavior, right? So we said, yeah, we could build that for them, and we did, and we call that emergency cash out. And it resonates with a lot of employees that are going through those transitions in life, and they need a small bridge to the other side, right? And PTO is accrued wages, so it's right there to be accessed, and it's a way that an employee can leverage that benefit in a flexible manner to get them through those transitions in life that we all know about.
The first thing that popped in my head when you said the piece about donating it to other employees, in April 2011, I'll never forget this. I onboarded a brand new employee. He was a helicopter pilot, we had just swayed him to come and join us, and he was totally not sure, and he finally agreed to join us, but he was going to have to travel for 6 months to be away from his family. And we hired him on a Friday. The very next week, his house was destroyed in a tornado, and it was devastating. He had no leave, obviously, accrued or anything else yet, and all of the people in the company pitched in a few hours of leave so that he could stay behind for a couple weeks and help his family literally pick up the pieces and get things back in place before he had to go out and start with us. And he was such a loyal person to the company and such a big supporter and proponent and advocate for us, not because we, cajoled him to do that or anything else, just because wow, in this really tough moment of need, everybody around me who I don't even know, he never worked with any of us, but we still pitched in to help. And he was so excited to be a part of that company after that. And that's an example of again, we had to do that manually. That was a pain, and sorting through all that stuff on the back end. It would have been much easier to have a tool to help us with that. But that's the first thing that popped in my head when you said, there are so many different ways, whether using it for yourself, using it for someone else, using it for a nonprofit, it doesn't matter. For a lot of people, that money is just sitting there on the shelf, and the only way they can get it is to take a day off of work, and they might not want to or need to or be able to, and it's still just locked away. They can't even access it. So I love some of those examples there. Everything down to the price line, the travel piece too. There's so many fun examples of how to use that, how to take advantage of it for sure.
Well, let me give you a story, because what you just stated happened with our very first customer, right? The CEO found us. He thought we were such an innovative benefit, and he signed up with us. They had about 90 employees. They're now 200 employees. But it was right before the hurricanes in Florida, and all of a sudden the hurricanes hit, and they started, because in our platform you're able to do federal disaster pools, and so they immediately started one on our platform. They immediately ran a campaign, and the CEO gave 3 weeks of his time into this federal disaster pool, right? And he didn't think anything of it at the time. He thought, I'm just going to give to help my employees. What came about is a change in the culture of his company, he said, and it's because he didn't make the announcement that he gave this time, but because of his pay rate And those 3 weeks of value, those dollars were able to help a lot of his rank and file. And again, he didn't know this. It kind of got out into the workforce, and this workforce just loved him. And he said, boy, they know I'm in the foxhole with them. It changed the culture of our company. It really made everyone unified together because they knew I was doing it along with them. And it was just a great story that he told. And so funny that just about 3 weeks ago, he gave another 3 weeks of PTO into their medical leave sharing pool to help a few employees that needed help, right? And that's a big differentiator when you have the executives in the corner office working with the rank and file and sharing in that manner. And it really does create that culture of community in your company. It was awesome to hear that from him.
Well, it's one thing to say everybody else should use this. It's another to say I'm going to put my literal money where my mouth is, and I'm going to do this to help. So that's always impressive to see a leader that's actually leading versus someone telling everybody else what to do, and just expecting them to do what I say, not what I do. Well, he's leading the way by example. That's a great story. I love that.
He truly is. Yeah.
Go ahead. I was going to say, so what about on the employee side? Right, you are obviously working with leaders of these different employers to try to help them understand how this can be of value, things like that. But what about the employees at the other end of this that are using the service, that are using the tool? What sort of feedback are you hearing from that perspective?
So from that perspective, we only hear great things, right? Because the platform is there for the employees. They can use it if they want, or they don't have to, right? It's an individual thing. But I'll give you an example. We launched a company, and this was about a 70 employee company 2 months ago. We had 2 people in that company give a couple of weeks of their time to their 401k to help them with the catch up, right? And they were thrilled because they weren't going to use it, right? And it was going to go away, and that helped them catch up with their 401k. The other thing that we had happen, we do a lot of giving through our platform. So in the month of December, we work with one of the Blue Cross companies. In the month of December, they had over 7 or 8% of their population give to almost 188 different nonprofits, and it was well over $70,000, and the company matched that to those nonprofits, right? And we managed all of that for them. So, we see a lot of, goodness, and we see a lot of, different things going on within the platform, but it all is there to benefit the employee. And we've heard nothing but great things from employees with the ability to self-direct the value of their time, right? It's really neat to see. When you look at the giving, it's really cool because you're just seeing how much of a difference. And it's not us doing it, right? We're just the platform. It's the people behind it that are giving of their time, giving of those dollars, and then the company's matching it alongside of it. So, we're just the platform that allows it all to happen. But it sure is really neat to see that going on your platform.
Yes. Well, that brings to mind, there was a story, I was talking to a friend this week about a local nonprofit who's doing a search for a new leader, and he said, hey, can you help out? I'm like, I would be glad to advise you, but I cannot be in the search committee. I just don't have enough time to donate to that. But in this example right here, if someone needed some dollars, they're like, hey, I don't have 10 hours a week that I can give you, but I can give you, X hours a month or whatever else in terms of actual compensation to help you meet your goals, whatever else you need to do from a nonprofit perspective. So I love that too. If you are like, hey, I'm fine, I actually don't need to take my time off, or I don't want to use that, or I'm good on my retirement, like I'm fine there, I'm set on those things, and you want to turn your attention to someone that needs it more than you do. I love the fact, like you said earlier, that you guys are actually hooked into the IRS database, so someone knows immediately if those funds are going to go towards a recognized charity and one that obviously would be very deserving of that. So there's so many good examples of this. I love it. I love it. I think I told you this when we talked before, but the thing that I'm always thinking of when I'm talking to companies in the HR technology space is I'm always putting the hat on of when I sat in the HR seat and I had to make these decisions and had to run the department. Like, would these tools have been valuable? Would I have wanted to use this myself, or would it have helped my people in some form or fashion? And I can think of so many examples here where we usually it was in like the other example, right? We're pitching in to help someone else. We did a lot of charity stuff like that, but never with PTO. That would have been a novel idea. So I'm thinking about these different ways that in the past we had to kind of, borrow from one piece, pull things together, scrap and scrape and whatever it took to make it happen. But if the framework was there, the platform was there already, and it was just as simple as saying, hey, we're all going to do this, and here's where you do it, and we can all be on the same page, I think that would have made it so much easier to do some of those things when we had an employee in need, or we had a charity that we supported as an organization we wanted to support. Those things would have been so much easier and so much more seamless to be able to support them in that way if we had the capability. So that's what I told you before, and I mean, this is really, really important work that you guys are doing, and I've been very, very interested to follow you, and we'll continue to.
No, it's been great, working on this company, and it really is cool to see what we're delivering to the employee base. Right, we're really helping these people out from a financial wellness standpoint, from a community standpoint, and even from an experience standpoint. When we look at the culture of a company that's defined in three ways: the community and what you bring, right? Your wellness, both financial and health. And then the experiences you bring, right? You go out with your family on a great vacation to Disneyland. You bring those experiences back into the company, and it helps create that culture, right? And so those are the three things that when we look at our product, we need to be touching those things, right? The other thing we look at is, are we touching the generational equality, right? So we have a vision of our platform has to be have generational equality in it, meaning that what we're doing for one generation, like student loan repayment, right? We need to be adding it to the other side, where maybe the baby boomers need to catch up on their 401k. So our platform allows companies to provide a benefit through the generations in their workforce. And as you know, that's a big thing today in the workforce.
Yes, absolutely.
But that's how we look at it.
Awesome. That's so awesome. Okay. So if someone is curious, wants to know more about you, the work the team is doing, how can they get in touch to learn some more?
Obviously, you can visit us on our website at www.ptoexchange.com. There is information that you can download there. So our product brochure and just other information that's there. You can ask for a demo and go from there.
Awesome. Very cool. Rob, again, it's clear that you love the space, and as you said, I'm sure that you probably didn't envision the impact you were going to have on the broader world, right? You're helping these people, these employees and these companies to make better use of the resources, but you're also, as you said, those examples of reaching nonprofits and other organizations and supporting the community beyond those four walls. I don't know that you imagined that when you first started out, but you're having a great impact, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today.
Well, Ben, thanks for having me, and really appreciate your time and love your show. And give me a call. I'd love to be on it again if you got an opening.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Okay.
Somebody else, this has been another interesting episode of We're Only Human. I'm Ben Eubanks, your host, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you for listening to We're Only Human. Please take a moment to share this episode with another HR leader who might see it as a valuable resource in their daily work. For more information about the podcast and to see all our show archives, please visit upstarthr.com.